Okay, so this morning I thought I'd talk a little bit about disagreement. I grew up in a household where there's almost no disagreement, no arguing at any rate. Um, I lived at home until I was 18 and I went to university. I don't think I can remember a single argument between my parents in all that time. Maybe there were some, but I certainly don't recall any. And whilst I'm not exactly saying it's good to argue, I think that experience growing up left me without any understanding really of how disagreements can arise, and specifically and most importantly, how you can move through them and come out the other side with your relationship intact. So I pretty much spent most of my adult life believing that strong relationships, genuine relationships, be those romantic or friendships, don't have arguments, don't have serious disagreements at any rate. And that if there are those kind of disagreements, then something's wrong and needs to be fixed. Looking back now, I can just see how silly, how naive, and actually how unhealthy that attitude was. I guess it's possible for two people, be they friends or partners, whatever it might be, to go through their lives together without seriously disagreeing. And I guess if that is genuinely the case, then good for them, that's great. But more realistically, differences and disagreements do come up. And if they're not allowed space to become visible and to be acknowledged and dealt with, that's not a healthy thing. And I think it can lead to all kinds of issues, whether it's one person just feeling they need to hide everything away, or maybe the other person just wanting to share, wanting to say what's happening for them, but being fearful of doing so, maybe because they fear being judged, or just because they just can't handle the idea of how the other person will respond. So it just seems better to keep quiet, to just shut up and put up with it. From kind of like how I'm talking, I guess you realize that I don't think that way any longer. That really came about, or I really kind of learned that, was with Fran. It wasn't too long in our friendship. We're going back over 8 years now, but it wasn't too long before we had some disagreement. And I hated it. At first I didn't know what to do. I just felt like everything was over if we couldn't, if we were having these issues, arguments, if I was doing things that upset her so badly, or she was doing things that upset me so badly, that actually maybe our friendship wasn't that great. Fran just didn't see it that way at all. She is very much, of the mind that, whatever you're feeling is valid and important, and the best thing to do is really to be honest with each other. And that's kind of what I learned to do. I'm still learning, obviously, both within my friendship with Fran and in my friendships and other relationships. It still doesn't come easy to me, and there's really only quite a small number of people with whom I've learned to feel confident enough and safe enough with to be honest, or to voice any issues I have when they arise. And I hope to be open to hearing the other person's grievances or upsets, where I've done something wrong or where they're feeling that I have. It's very much a learning process. It's not something that's it's an important aspect of this. This isn't about being just brutally honest with everybody all the time. It's not about sort of blasting my hurt in somebody's face just because they did something that annoyed me or that I feeling cross about. There's a relationship, if it's of value, it's a two-way thing, and we need to respect the other person's feelings and how they might respond to what we're wanting to share. But at the same time, there needs to be that trust that actually, if something happens and I'm feeling strongly about something, maybe something that they've done or said, that I have, I don't see the right, but that I am able to say, hang on, when you did that, I felt this. It's not always about needing the other person to do anything or change. Sometimes it can be just about acknowledging that actually this is how I'm feeling right now. Came up a couple of months ago with one of my friends, and I didn't really need them to change behavior or anything. It was just that I needed to be able to say, hey, when you did that yesterday, whatever it was, that's, I felt this because such and such. And I wasn't sure how it would go. This is somebody didn't have like a very, we've been friends a while, but didn't have like a great history of dealing with issues. So I felt a little bit uncertain. I was like, do I need to bring this up? Is this, should I just keep it to myself? And I was like, well, no, actually this needs to be said. I do feel I need to say this. And I did, and to her credit, to our credit as friends, my friend heard me. She acknowledged what I was feeling and my take on things. I got to say my bit, she got to say her bit, and we moved on. And we've touched on it since, and I think we're both stronger for that. And that's how it should be. I mean, anyway, not quite sure where I'm going with this. That's really kind of what I wanted to say. So those friendships, as friends, as people, the relationships that I feel safest in are where I feel able to do that. Because no matter how wonderful you are or how great our friendship is, if we're both honest about things, if we both touch each other's lives to any sort of depth at all, there are going to be those times when we rub up against each other. And if I do something that upsets you or that isn't what you needed, I would like to hear it. I would like to know about it. If I don't know about it, how am I going to realize what I did and try and do better next time? And there's high examples of that too in my relatively recent past. One with the same friend I mentioned just before, in fact. So it works both ways. That's what these things are about. And I think ultimately, if we are just able to accept, not criticism exactly, but accept the impact that we have on those we are friends with, those we care about, those we love, if we can accept that our actions and our words sometimes have impacts on them that they're not very happy with, and we certainly didn't intend, then that's a healthy thing. It's much healthier than our friends just needing to keep things to themselves because they're scared of upsetting us. Um, a lot healthier. So there we go. There's this morning's thoughts on disagreement, and when I get this posted up, I guess I'd be interested to hear your opinions on it. Do you agree with where I'm coming from? Do you disagree? Do you disagree in my take on disagreements? That would be fun to know. So I'm going to leave it there. Have a great day, whatever you're up to. Bye for now.